You're listening to Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast.
When your heart is aching and your world is shaking, don't give up. No, don't give up.
Hello and welcome to Oh My Health, There Is Hope, the podcast. I'm your host, Jana Short, and today our guest is Maverick Willett. Maverick is an ISSA certified personal trainer and fitness nutritionist, former Army Ranger, and former collegiate basketball player with a passion for helping women and mothers lose weight and regain control of their bodies. Growing up, Maverick's parents were both competitive bodybuilders and taught him a great deal about the importance of taking care of our bodies. He has been in the fitness industry for over a decade and has a fitness and nutrition. So sorry, I just got caught off doing something else. Nutrition coaching business called Maverick Online Coaching. By the way, I visited this on Instagram and his website. It is awesome. You guys have got to check it out. And he does all of this with his wife, Sophie. And they're on a mission together to help women feel more confident about themselves and taking care of their mind and body. And I'm telling you what, if you're not working on it all, something will break. So I love hearing you say that. Thank you so much for being with us today, Maverick.
Thanks so much for having me, Jane. I'm so excited to be here. I appreciate the opportunity and admire what you do very much as well. So thank you so much.
I'm excited to have you here too. One of the things that we ask every guest to do is share their story of hope, because honestly, I believe our stories of hope are the stories other people need to hear to find that hope to keep moving on. And so if you don't mind sharing your story of hope, we would love to hear it.
Absolutely. So I have a lot because we work with, a lot of women, and there's been so many who had lost hope before, becoming clients in our program. And one that specifically comes to mind, her name is Tammy, and Tammy is 63 years old. And at the time she was 280 pounds when she came to us and had numerous health issues, had tried, numerous fad diets, had tried numerous things, and they just didn't work. And she had lost hope. She was at the end of her rope. She was on various medications, and we just by chance, found her on Facebook and struck up a conversation. And luckily she decided to trust us with her health and wellness. And, Tammy in about a year has gone from not being able to get up and down off the floor and not being able to exercise at all to going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week and working out. She's down 65 pounds. She's off of blood pressure medication. She's off of statins. She's off of antidepressants. She's totally turned her life around. And it's been amazing to watch, but it's been even more amazing to be a part of and to walk through this journey with her and all the other women in our community who have come from that place of losing hope and not having, having their self-love ripped from them and now thriving. It's just, that's what I'm passionate about. And Tammy always comes to mind when I get asked to share a story because she's just a superhero. So I had to share that.
I love that. And Tammy, if you're listening, you are a superhero because I have been there. I once weighed 300 pounds and it was due to an illness, but I remember that feeling when I lost 20 pounds. I was so excited and nobody noticed. They're like, oh, okay, good luck, keep going. But I felt really defeated, like nobody's even noticing. I felt like I accomplished so much, but I get that journey. So congratulations, Tammy.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like you said, the mental aspect of that journey was the hardest and most important part. So we really try to hit on that as well.
I think that is beautiful. What kind of women come to you? Because I love that you touched on fad diets. I don't even know why diet all of a sudden got associated with weight loss, because all the word diet means is what we put in our mouths and eat, right? It's what we're eating. But all of a sudden it became this commercial for losing weight. And we associate that word with some sort of new fad that somebody's showing a picture of themselves on TV and they're a celebrity. And I'm telling you, there was a lot more behind the scenes than that fad diet that made them get to that space. But they never work. And when they do work, they never stay. Like you can't sustain that kind of fad. It's why it's called a fad.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the main thing that we help. I mean, you asked what kind of women come to us, and the majority have been through that. The majority have been through some kind of yo-yo cycle where they it's all in the advertising. All these fad diet corporations, these entities know that they're competing with others who can make the most outrageous claim, accomplish this drastic feat without any effort, the yay without boo type of advertising, lose 50 pounds without tracking, cut your calories so they're all competing, and it just gets more extreme. I mean, the magazines in the checkout aisle of every grocery store, if you just look at those, it gets more and more. It's a higher amount of weight and less amount of time. And so after being subjected to this day after day, women begin to associate their self-worth with a number on the scale, because they see these claims, and they can put whatever women they want on the cover. And even if they did or didn't lose the weight, they're just going to find a Photoshop altered person to put on that cover. And then inherently women will start comparing their journey with that result. Why am I not losing that weight in that amount of time? What am I doing wrong? What should I be doing? Should I do that diet? And it leads to desperation. It leads to jumping on some kind of harsh restrictive diet. And like you said, Jana, they can't maintain the results because they don't know how they're getting the results. There's no education in that process. And usually, 9 times out of 10, those diet entities, those corporations, are using a very harsh caloric deficit to achieve these results, not caring about the long-term health or the long-term sustainability of the customers, just getting that initial loss so they can make another claim onto the next one, and so forth and so forth. So it's a very destructive cycle, and it's kind of what we're crusading against in this industry, so to speak. But the majority have experienced at least 1 to 2 of those fads and have failed in their eyes. And now we're helping them rebuild themselves.
I love that. Maverick, one of the things that I want to poke into a little bit, because you mentioned it at the very beginning, is I honestly believe that mindset is like the number one key to anything succeeding, is putting ourselves in that right mindset. So let's use Tammy, for example. She tried many different things, yo-yo dieting, and felt failure. And she became in this very specific mindset that nothing's going to work. I'm never going to accomplish. And before she ever started the next fad, she'd already failed, because that was what her mindset was. And so I'm assuming when you worked with her, that's kind of where you started.
Absolutely. The longer I coach, the longer I'm a nutrition coach, the longer I realize the less I coach on nutrition, because we've got a formula that works for that. You're going to learn macros, you're going to learn calories, you're going to learn awareness, you're going to learn all that stuff. You're going to get the tools for intuitive eating. But vastly more important is how you view yourself, how you associate your self-worth with the scale, with your clothes, with a waist number, any kind of number, and why you feel these feelings in the first place. So with Tammy, yes, and anyone that was similar to Tammy and deals with those same struggles, we have to dig in and understand what patterns are happening and why those patterns are in place. And oftentimes, and we're by no means therapists, never claim to be, we always recommend actually working with a therapist with us, because it's a good 1-2 punch. But that being said, I have a therapist, Sophie has a therapist. We big on therapy to help understand these patterns even more. But in understanding the feelings before the binge, the feelings before the purge, the feelings before we eat a whole bag of chips as opposed to a handful, or whatever the vice is, why are we using those things? And is it a way to escape feelings? Are we using food to not feel stress? Are we using food to not feel overwhelmed, relationship conflict, whatever's going on? Linking those back to our childhood is always going to be uncomfortable, but produce some drastic results. And when we're able to connect those dots, for instance, take a child who, when her parents were fighting, goes in the next room and eats sweets to escape the turmoil. Well, likely in her adult life, she does the same behavior using food. And so when you can make these light bulbs come on that people can't get from a fad dieting corporation, I won't call anyone out by name, but we all know what they are. They're the first results that come up on Google because they can afford to pay for the ad space. And so when we help them make those connections and those light bulbs come on, things that they can't get with being a number in a fad dieting type of program, that's when drastic change is made. That's when they can disassociate. That's when they can disassociate shame and guilt from food, and when they can finally make the changes that they couldn't make before.
I love that. One of the keys for me was journaling my food, not before I ate it, an hour after I ate it. How did it make me feel? Like, how do I feel right now after I ate the cheeseburger? And always I was sluggish and I wanted to take a nap, and I felt overfull. And so once my brain started seeing me put these things down, it stopped wanting them as much. Like, I want more energy. Well, that's not going to do it for you. My brain literally would say, no, you're not hungry for that. You're hungry for this, because the brain remembers the energy foods I wrote down. And so it really starts associating without me even being aware of it. And actually, it wasn't a fad, by the way. This really works. I still will write down what I eat.
I love that. It's kind of like a reverse affirmation, which we're really big on affirmations too. And it's kind of like, it's also great. You know, all of our clients keep a food diary. We use an app, and we can see that. And it just helps us pinpoint, you know, if they're feeling sluggish, if they're feeling a certain, like, you know, certain negative after food, we can look back and see, well, what did you eat? And is there a pattern there? So I'm a big fan of that. Caloric awareness, just mindfulness of food in our bodies is so important. And we strive to achieve that with everybody.
So one of the things I noticed when I was checking out your sites and your Instagram is that you really do treat each individual person like they are unique. It's like there's no pattern, right? They're all coming with different, unique ideas, and you're really catering to that. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to just throw a name out there. Like, the keto diet is a big fad right now, right? And by the way, I'm all for getting rid of sugars and processed carbs. Like, they're not that great for you, so limiting them would be great. But to like completely cut something out of your diet just seems like it's not sustainable to me. Having said that, when I saw the results and I was reading if you guys have to go to their Instagram page, because they have some incredible transformations on there that I was amazed at. And when I get to see the person's face, they're like a totally different person. They're like literally glowing. It's more than a physical change. It's obvious when you look at it. So kudos to you guys. But when you're working with someone, I'm assuming that you are aware of their unique things that they're bringing, whatever health issues, whatever their past issues, whatever diets they've been on before, whatever physical ailments they may have. Like, I know when I start gaining weight, I had to have my stomach completely removed. I have no stomach. So yes, you can gain weight, because let me tell you, when you're drinking a lot of liquid, you can put a lot of calories in those smoothies and bulk up without ever taking a bite of food. So I have to be really aware of what I am putting in my smoothies. So what do you do when you bring someone on board? Can they expect working with you?
Well, I always have a conversation with anybody before we, you know, I always like to ask about a dozen questions just to see if it's a good fit and where they're coming from, what they've struggled with, what their goals are. And now I actually do a full assessment with someone before they even come on, because I want to make sure that, number one, we're not outside of our scope. We can actually help them. And number two, just get a feel for where they're at before they even come in, and we can cater the program to them and make it as personalized as possible. That's very important. I'm really glad you hit on that, because that's another place where the fads are lacking. You know, not everyone is carb sensitive. Not everyone is insulin resistant. All these trendy terms that get tossed around to convince people they have a problem that they don't actually have. That's another thing they do. They'll invent a problem that doesn't exist to convince people they have a problem that needs fixing, to get them on the keto train or the intermittent fasting train or what have you, you know? And just disclaimer, if you've seen my social media, you know how I stand on these things, intermittent fasting, keto. I don't want to say they're never necessary. I know that there are a select few that can sustain those things, a very small percentage of people. There's always at least one person who comments and says, hey, but I did it for this long. But the thing is, the majority of people can't. And we work with women and a lot of mothers, and it is completely unrealistic to expect a mother of 2-3 kids to do the ketogenic diet. They're going to be devoid of energy. They're going to be void of glucose and simple sugars that help them think and move and increase metabolic rate and all these things. I could get into that all day. But it's just they're missing the mark on that. It needs to be personalized. Everyone's needs are different. Everyone's schedule's different. Everyone's lifestyle is different. Everyone has different goals. And so to doom yourself to an umbrella type of approach that is one size fits all is kind of setting yourself up for, it's kind of a crapshoot. It's a big gamble with your health.
One of the things that you also mentioned that I read in your bio is that your parents were bodybuilders, right? Competitors. And so you probably learned about fitness from a very young age. That's not true for all of us. And one of the things that I want to impress on people is the path you took because of what you watched growing up as a child. And what happens is we're creating this ripple effect with the next generation and the next generation of fast food, quick and easy, things that aren't sustainable in the body, that gives them a quick boost and then they're hungry again in an hour. And I don't know what it's going to look like. Like there's so many fads that we're trying to keep up instead of just going back to the basics. I was raised on a dairy. We grew our vegetables. We drank our milk literally. I want to say straight from the cow, but I really wasn't straight from the cow, but it literally came straight from the cow. It wasn't homogenized or anything. I had real butter. We didn't do anything processed. It was all, and I thought I was being tortured as a child because everybody else was getting McDonald's.
Wow. I would kill for that kind of food. I wish I lived on a farm. That's amazing. Yeah, it's so true. And I have touched on in our content that because, you're the example your children will follow. And as parents, we have a responsibility to leave a lineage of health and wellness and mindfulness about the foods we're consuming. It's so true. And you're right. I did have an unfair advantage in that point. Not many people, a very, very, I would say minuscule amount, the percentage of people have the type of upbringing I did. That had a very big influence on me, especially my mother. I mean, my mom was phenomenal. She was way ahead of her time. She said stuff 20 years ago that I'm hearing now come out. And so she's just a nutritional genius. And my dad was more of the training, he was real big into weightlifting and all that and taught me that. But yeah, it's so important to teach our offspring how to eat just basic stuff. The healthcare industry is so out of touch with the food industry, and the food industry is so out of touch with the healthcare industry. And that's a big problem. The lack of education. Kids aren't learning the right stuff in schools either. There's vending machines in the schools, and it's not enough of a push to educate about food choices, caloric awareness, and staying away from the foods that can cause, that can amplify the obesity epidemic that we're dealing with.
Well, I think like one of the main things I'm trying to point out is that you're working with moms and you're creating these beautiful new habits for them that are going to be passed down to my children. Because having 4 children, I promise you, I taught them nothing, but they learn by watching me do the things I did. And then I'll see them picking up one of my bad habits thinking, ooh, but I also see them picking up some of my good habits and thinking, yay, that one, yay for me. So yeah. I love that you're doing that. I love that you're working with moms because I feel like they do feel defeated. I remember as a mom of 4, and I saw that you have a son. So you have a son, right?
Yes. He's
Congratulations. So you're knowing what it's like to have to give yourself care and be that provider for your family and that nurture for your child. It's a lot. And sometimes the first thing that cuts out is us. Like we don't, oh my gosh, I remember wanting to call in sick because the kids all had the flu and so did I. I had to get up and take care of them, but I wanted to call in sick. Like, I am not coming in today. I am not feeling it. I'm going to be in bed. That doesn't happen when you become a parent. You're on call 24/7. And so the first thing that cuts is our self-care and our needs. And you don't have to do that.
Yeah, you're so right. That's the number one challenge that we face with mothers in our program is being the matriarch of the family, whether they're a single mom or, they're in a relationship. They feel that natural urge to provide and put children before themselves. And if that happens reoccurring, I always kind of pepper this story into their check-in response. I'll say, look, there's a woman and her infant child stranded in the woods, and they don't know, the mother doesn't know how to get out. They're stranded, but she has half a sandwich, and she has to decide, do I eat the sandwich or do I feed the sandwich to the child? And the answer is, she has to eat the sandwich because without her, neither one of them can make it out. And just that simple metaphor kind of helps kind of like light bulb come on that without you being your best, your kids can't beat their best. And it's very challenging because that's just a natural, I think, for moms to, I see it with Sophie, just to put the child's needs first always. And it's admirable, but at the same time, got to find time for self-care, got to find time for your health so that they can be at their best and also set a good example for them. So it's a very tough balance, I will say.
But there is a balance and it can be had. Maybe not every single day, but most of the days, right?
Absolutely.
So what are some of the tips that you would give women right now that are like struggling to like lose that extra 30 baby pound weight, right? Like it's hard, especially if you have babies really close together. It seems like you never quite get there and you're already packing on more weight.
Hmm. It's tough because again, society and advertising wires us for instant gratification, and we gravitate towards that. We want it now. We want our Amazon Prime version of weight loss, and it doesn't work like that. We have to coax weight loss. The body doesn't like drastic. It likes coaxing. It likes a gradual walk away from homeostasis. So micro commitments are a very good way to sustain results. Number one, I would stop weighing every day. If you're someone who weighs every day, cut it out. Weigh once a week, maybe twice if you can make it that long. But your weight is going to fluctuate no matter what you do. It's natural. You have different energy levels, stress levels, bowels, urine, hormones, water retention. All those things go into that number. It's not weighing your body fat. It's weighing your just everything. So knowing that it's arbitrary to weigh every single day. So that's one thing we can cut out immediately, to stop weighing every day. Then micro commitments. So what's the smallest thing that you know you can commit to and follow through on? Let's try that first, instead of making the biggest mistake people make is making these huge commitments they know they can't follow through on. And when they don't follow through on them, they feel like a failure and start to lose trust in themselves. They don't trust their own word. They feel like they view themselves as a flake to themselves. And our word is our bond. So when we follow through on our word, we start to trust ourselves. And the only way to do that is to start with small commitments. So even if it's for some of the things we suggest, go on one walk today. Even if it's 5-10 minutes, start somewhere. Do it, accomplish it, feel good about it. Then let's build more. Meditate for 60 seconds, just try it. 60 seconds, right? 60 seconds is a lot if you've never done it before. But a big lofty commitment would be, I'm, new year, new me. I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week. Well, if you haven't gone to the gym consistently for 6 months, your body is not going to let you go to the gym all of a sudden for 6 days a week. It's not going to happen, especially, again, if you're a mother, you have commitments, it's not going to happen. So start small and just slowly build, and the compound interest of those habits will pay off. The hardest part is accepting that it's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen. It is inevitable. It will happen. Track one meal a day, just track it, just to try to gain some caloric awareness of how much you're eating and how those foods play into your diet and your progress. Just track one meal a week. Okay, cool. You follow through on it. You feel confidence in yourself. You did something you said you were going to do. You can move forward and add more things. So it's just it's a slow build up, and 6 months down the road, you won't recognize yourself, but it takes time.
I love that. I absolutely love all those little tips that you gave, because I think that is one of the reasons we kind of set ourselves up for failure when we do that. Like, we want to eat the whole elephant today, and really the only way to eat that elephant is taking that first bite, and then the 100%. Next, and the next thing you know, it's gone. So I love that you're doing that. You do offer online services, right?
We're solely online. We're completely online.
I love it. So do you do workouts with people as well online?
We provide training plans, and we, as video demonstrations, we give a lot of guidance. Sometimes I do one-on-one, like a FaceTime workout with someone, just to guide them through it, because we have some people who have never exercised before, never been to the gym. So I don't want anyone lost. So I'll kind of jump on, or one of my coaches will jump on with them and walk them through it. But it's 90% nutrition focused, because that is the bulk of the change that people want to see, is what they're consuming every day, and developing an awareness around that.
So I'm going to tell you, I am the person who weighs himself every day. I try not to. And when people ask, why do you weigh yourself every day? I'm like, I'd rather lose 3 pounds than 50 pounds, right? And so I'm paying attention, I'm aware, but you're right. I do not suggest this for anybody. It's just, I just do it. And now it's just been a habit for years. And I get on that scale and I weigh every day. So it's probably not a good thing. And I'm going to try not to do it. But one of the things that I did when I was losing weight that really put it in my mind what it was doing to my body is, I knew I needed to lose a lot of weight. That was obvious. But someone said, if you could just lose 30 pounds, imagine what that would feel like. I'm like, it probably wouldn't feel any different. I have so much to lose. Then they handed me 30 pounds of potatoes in a bag. I could barely lift it off the ground. And they're like, you are lifting that plus off the bed, off the chair, and it's hurting your knees and it really mentally connected in my brain what I was doing to my body, because I could barely lift that 30-pound bag of potatoes.
Absolutely. And that's a great point, because the reason why you didn't realize it was that amount of weight is because it's distributed evenly around your body. And that's a great segue into, why everyone wants to, hey, how do I burn belly fat? How do I burn lower back fat? How do I burn fat in my arms, whatever? The reality is we can't choose where our bodies burn fat. The analogy I always give is, imagine a town and it rains really, really, really hard for 2 or 3 days. There's going to be flooding in certain places. There's going to be less water in certain places. As the sun comes back out and evaporates that water, some places are going to evaporate faster, the places with less water, but those places that had the huge puddles are going to take a little bit longer for all that water to evaporate. Our bodies are the same way. We can't, unfortunately, pick where we burn fat and lose weight. It will happen, but it happens in a cumulative level over our entire body. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's why you couldn't, when you picked it up in one place, you're like, okay, that's a lot of weight. But when it's distributed naturally throughout our bodies, it's hard to know that.
Right. And I don't think that you even recognize as you're putting on weight, because it comes on gradually, right? So you go from 5 pounds overweight, 10 pounds, 15, and it comes on, and it is distributed differently. But if you're really heavy, get in a pull and do a little workout in a pull, and then start to walk out, and your body weight starts coming back to reality and holding, it's like, oh, it's getting harder to step up the steps. It's a lot. You're putting a lot on your organs. You're putting a lot on your joints and your bones. And it's just a lot. So I definitely made that connection when I picked up that bag of potatoes. Like, if this is just 30 pounds, imagine what losing that 150 would be like for my body.
Yeah.
So it definitely, for me, mindset has always been everything. And when it connects in my head what I'm doing to myself, and it's a visual thing that I can't deny, it really impacts me. And I saw, by the way, a lot of you doing things like similar throughout your site, like in giving these great tips. So I definitely would connect with Maverick on his site. Maverick, if you were going to tell people to do one thing, take one step to getting into a better space, what would that one step be besides getting in touch with you guys?
Again, it comes down to micro commitments. And I think that when you want to lose weight, you have two choices. You can either, obviously, eat less or move more. And that's really dumbed down advice, which is about as effective as telling a homeless person to just, spend less and save more. It's not effective. But within that are little nuggets. Like for me, a lot of people think that you have to, when someone in a movie or a celebrity says, oh, I got to get in shape. Well, the next thought is, I got to go for a run, or I got to go and hit the treadmill, or I got to go do this or that. It's so much more effective to just be on your feet and active more overall than it is to go and crush yourself in the gym. Your body depicts what you habitually subject it to. The stimulus you provide it is what's going to reflect. So even if you're someone who goes to the gym an hour a day and crushes it, but you're sedentary the other 23 hours of the day, your body is not going to depict somebody who goes to the gym an hour a day. It's going to depict someone who's sedentary 23 hours a day. And I think that society puts a lot of focus on that 1 hour in the gym, where what you do outside of that window is what's going to depict the results you want. So just going on a 10-minute walk after a meal twice a day, 3 times a day preferably, but just twice a day, if you can get out for a 10-minute walk somewhere, that is so much more effective than trying to go and just crush yourself in the gym and do something you don't necessarily enjoy. If you're just active, if you're more active, if you're on your feet, you will create that energy deficit to where combined with some better food choices, you can go a very, very long way just with being more active. And we live in a society that's becoming more and more sedentary, and we're not meant to be sedentary creatures. So just getting outside with the kids, if you have kids, taking the dog for a walk, and just making time to do that just a couple times a day, brisk 10-minute walk, especially after meals, can work wonders. The after meals part is key, because it's a very simple practice, but it can help regulate blood sugar, help with digestion, with gut health, with cognition, reduce brain fog, all these things. But most people, you picture Thanksgiving dinner, most people just cram it down and then they go pass out. But it's much better to be active immediately after a meal to uptake those nutrients and reduce those the brain fog and stuff. People feel that energy crash midday. Just a simple practice, 10-minute walk after your meal is something that I get people to do. It makes a huge bit of difference, especially people who are limited and can't go to the gym, either physically or what have you. It's something you can do right now for free and make a big difference when done over time.
I love that tip. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I already learned so much from you, and I'm going to hide my skill and only bring it out once a week so that I won't step on it, see if I can create a new habit. So thank you so much, Maverick, for being with us today. And we're going to put all of their information in the show notes. You can connect with them right away and get to know more about what they offer, how they do it, and how maybe you can take that first step. And here's the thing, Maverick didn't mention this, but I think one of the main keys is you don't have to do it alone, right? You can find somebody else who's already done it, somebody else who is in that journey with you, and you don't have to do it alone. So you can definitely connect with them for the support. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it, Jana. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast. Make sure to visit Jana's website, bestholisticlife.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, or listen there, so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you simply tell a friend about the show, that'll help too. Let's change the world together, one health expert at a time. Looking forward to seeing you next time.